Genji 2 is an action game which is based on Japanese history. Being based on history, the stages of the game will also be based on famous battles which actually took place in ancient Japan. So here's this giant enemy crab.
I could
I think you'd like it, to be honest. I think you'd like it.
Here, we'll try it. Pick a class.
I will choose a wizard.
Oh, I thought you were going to be something else. That's all right.
Welcome to DMing. There you go. That's the whole experience. I thought you were going to do this. All right.
We could. You're a wizard. You're a. What's do DMs use a voice or do they just do like their
That's
own
up
voice?
to you. I hate doing voices most of the time.
Oh, wizard. Oh, wizard. Would you like to hear the tale of a wizard doing stuff?
Tell me more, strange hermit.
Oh, you find yourself at the Defiler's crypt on a mission from the king to find his lost legion. It's in a graveyard, and you find yourself at the door, and it's dark and deep, and in the back you can see a fading blue light coming from down the hallway, and in your way is the cobblestone floors are covered in slime, and the what appears to be, I like that phrase, what appears to be the bones of fallen adventurers before you. What do you do?
I'm not going down that door.
No, you can't do that. Do something else.
What do you mean? I cast fireball.
No, do something else.
All right, I go forward.
Roll.
What am I rolling for?
Make a roll with your dice.
Do I have to go get them? Here, I got
No.
7.
Critical fail. You slip and you fall on the slimy cobblestone and break your neck like $1 Million Baby. Thank you for playing. You lose.
That was good. I might try
You like
druid next time.
Ooh, I shapeshift into a corpse. Welcome to another episode of Crab Whatever. We're here to talk about Daggerheart. I'm your host, Fliz, joined by our resident D&D and lore expert, Kyler.
Hello.
We've talked about it before, but now that Daggerheart is out and we've seen some things, I've watched them play a little bit. It seems like it's been jolly good fun. I really just wanted to know more about it. So we got in here and we're like, how are we feeling about Daggerheart compared to D&D? Because Daggerheart looks fun, right? If you want to give a lowdown on what Daggerheart is relative to D&D.
Yeah, so Daggerheart is a new tabletop RPG made by Darrington Press, which is Critical Role, like Matt Mercer and all them, if you haven't heard of them. But pretty much it is a different type of tabletop, kind of made in the same vein as Dungeons and Dragons. And kind of the twist on it, like the reason to play the game, is that it is a very like cinematic action based RPG, but that more focuses on narrative elements more so than anything else. So it's not inherently complex at the start, but it actually does get pretty like crunchy, and there's like a lot going on after a while once you get used to it. What I really like about it is, which we'll get more into, is that because the open nature of how the game is like structured, there's a lot of easy things that you can do that makes it like way easier on the DM. It gets the players involved, and just kind of like, it feels like it completes more of a circle between the dungeon master and the players than kind of D&D does.
Yeah, from what I saw, because I watched you play with some of the folks in the Discord a little bit, it looked like something I would enjoy more than D&D, because I had fun when we played D&D, except when it got bogged down in specifically like other people's turns, or I need to look at my character sheet and go through my items and skills and look ahead. There would just be like an hour of nothing happening. And that's where I just kind of like after like 2 or 3 hours, I would just zone out, regardless of how entertaining it was, you know? And this seems to circumvent that entirely by, I mean, the biggest thing I saw is there are not really turns.
Yeah.
Everybody just does what they want and DM reacts, basically, is how you explained it to me.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is. And that's honestly the mechanic that when they released this during the beta, people got like really freaked out, sort of. And I actually watched the fireside chat that Critical Role had released on their website where they talked about that. And they were actually super nervous to release it too, because they thought it would just like bomb and people would just hate it. And people did not like what they came out with when they first started making the game. But
Really?
yeah, which I don't know what that was, but they had like there was a lot of feedback about what it was at first. But with the game like finished now, it's really intuitive and like really cool. It has flaws with it, but like if you and the players can work with it well, it works super good. It's really it just kind of meshes super, super well. Um, the problem that can arise with it is if it's more like problem players can come up where you have people that are just hogging the the limelight and just not passing it off to someone else.
I absolutely, like, that was one of my first thoughts, is like, if everybody can go, y'all better be playing nice or else this can suck. Like,
Yeah,
there's gonna be somebody who really, this is theirs. They are the main character.
they're the
If you have
guy.
the wrong party, they're the guy. This is their game of Daggerheart, nobody else's. The other problem that I saw is I actually went, because we were originally going to DM and then came up. We were going to have me DM a game, so I was kind of watching Critical Roles. They had like a couple hours where they did a game of Daggerheart with their people, and the main issue I was put off by is because there was no turns, everybody just kept saying inane. Like they would, everybody just had their own, like, my character does this. And it didn't really, I guess it added flavor to the game, but at the same time, it really kind of bogged everything down a little bit, just from like a normie viewer.
Yeah.
You know, I don't play too much D&D, but just watching, I was like, just get on with it. Stop. I don't care how cute you want your character to look and act. I just don't. Move on. Do something.
Yeah, that depends on more context, because an issue when you're watching it from as a third person, you're watching a game happen. To you, that's what it feels like. But to them, like, they're in the moment. So they're like enjoying what's happening. So you have to keep that in mind too, where like that's part of the fun of playing the game too. And what's nice about it is it doesn't have to be like that. So if you don't, if that's not something that you want to do, then you just don't, and you just gonna keep going. So it's something that the game enables, but also that you can just completely ignore as well and just do the things that you want.
So the main aspect that I saw is the hope and fear system.
Yes.
Which is seems like the player characters build up hope with their rolls, depending on how the roll goes, and every time there's a chance they roll fear instead, and that basically gives the DM actions. So let's say your characters were just jibber jabbering all the time. Could you be like, I use a fear and this happens?
Yes, there's actually a few different ways that the GM can play. So the way that the GM gets their churn, because pretty much at all times, it's the player's churn. Like they just kind of decide who goes and they keep going. The only times that a GM actually does something is if one of the players rolls and they fail something. So if they fail, then the GM gets to go, even if they roll with hope or whatever. It's the GM's turn after that. If they roll with fear, whether they succeed or not, the GM gets a fear token. And a fear token they can spend on various things. One of the most basic being they can spend it to interrupt like whatever the players are trying to do and spotlight an enemy and have an enemy do something. There's also like several different abilities that several monsters and creatures have that you can spend fear on to do. So this is also how you actually like balance and power the enemies in the game too. And they're actually creatures designed specifically to generate fear over time. So you can do some really cool stuff with the encounters too.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I it already sounds more my speed than than D&D. Just I don't know. It's less structured, but more structured in the same. I can't really quite explain it.
That's what's so like weird but cool about it is the way that they have designed the game. Just like it makes sense to me now. Just like this is probably like if I had gone back like years and years to when I first started doing D&D, making encounters and like trying to do combat, how they have everything structured here would be how I would try to do it. It's so like elegant in a way, and
It's efficient.
yeah, it's efficient. And also watching that fireside chat again, what was really interesting is Matt Mercer said kind of the same thing, where he's like, usually when I make encounters and everything, like I have like a bunch of notes of like the environment, what they might run into. Here's this, like here's all these stuff about enemies. And when I made Daggerheart, we pretty much just turned these into little stat blocks, and it just made everything way easier. So yeah, it becomes really easy to just kind of DM and just kind of do things and make encounters. So if you're someone that just is a forever DM all the time, this game makes you feel like you're a player. Yeah, that's me.
That's the only reason I was going to DM is because this poor motherfucker is always DM all the time. He never gets to play the games.
Yeah, I'm cursed.
Someday. If I look, man, if I find the time to play some Daggerheart and I see it done, or at least watch it, I'll get you. I'll get you. Don't worry about it. Someday.
I'm excited.
It'll be a birthday present. Happy birthday.
Do you have any questions about the game at all that you've seen? Because you watched some gameplay of it.
That's kind of the thing that was really nice about watching it is nothing happened where I was like, I don't understand that. When we played D&D, I had to every time somebody said something, I had to look at the little sheet of which action can I take? Okay, I can't do that. That's not the right kind of action attached to the sub action attack. Like it was kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And I had to check with you like constantly. Can I do this? Does this work? I don't know. It doesn't seem like that was an issue at all for the game I was watching you guys play.
No. And what was crazy too is we had a couple people that were just completely new as well.
That's
and
what
they
I was going to
picked
say.
it up super fast.
It just seems because we were also talking about Shadow Dark.
Yes.
And it seems like this, like you kind of sound like you're all for like getting heavy into Daggerheart more than D&D or Shadow Dark at this point.
I think they both have advantages and disadvantages. One thing about Daggerheart is this isn't like a negative to it. It's just it's how the game functions. It is very skewed towards the players. It is designed to favor the players at all times. They'll run into like rough spots, but it's really hard to like die or fail in this game. Because even when you look at the math, like all the numbers are skewed in the player's favor. The mechanics, like death, the players can choose just to not die. Like that is a choice they get. Even like the wheelchair mechanics, like as the DM, I'm not allowed to do anything to the wheelchair. That is the players. They can do whatever they want.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Wheelchair mechanics?
Yeah, there's wheelchair mechanics.
Like wheelchair?
Yes, like an actual wheelchair. It's called a combat wheelchair, which you can have.
Shut up.
I'm not joking.
It's not called a combat wheelchair.
Yes, the combat wheelchair by Mark Thompson is a rule set designed to help you play a wheelchair user in Daggerheart. It's got a whole there's different ones you can get. They all have different features that they have. There's like arcane ones you can get too, and yeah, that's why it's there. It's it's a level of inclusivity I've never seen before.
I'm not laughing at. I'm laughing at it. Like I'm all for inclusivity. That's just kind of funny though.
It is
combat wheelchair.
It's great. I love it. I love it so much. I saw someone was talking about it because they were just kind of going through like reading the book and posting on their blog about it, and they were like, I had to take a second look at the combat wheelchair thing because it's really strange. but I just love it so much because I know it's gonna piss people off.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that sounds like people who would pick a bard are definitely going to go for the combat wheelchair.
Yeah, but one of the rules in for the wheelchair is that the GM, like they can't break it, they can't remove it from play or do anything to it without the player's permission. So, like the game
Could you
itself is designed to empower the players and whatever fantasy they're trying to live out. That's the goal of the game, right?
I mean, we might be getting specific, but couldn't you just make it like really rocky terrain?
Nope. Actually, the image that's in the wheelchair is someone. It's someone drifting down a snow mountain in the wheelchair. Like I'm not even. They're like Tokyo drifting. It's actually really crazy. But yeah, no, you can't break them out of it. Like you can't do anything. So yeah.
All right.
But like we were saying, in comparison, Shadow Dark is a game that will just it just wants you to die. Like yeah, you can just spend it. I remember when I played Shadow Dark, my character at one point just went across a bridge in a cavern, right? I was the third person to go across the bridge. And then I immediately got grabbed by a kraken and died.
Oh,
like there's nothing to roll. I was just gone. I was like,
there's okay. There's no saving roll or nothing. You just die.
Yeah, I just died because I didn't realize that one of the Kraken's attack is it just grabs you and kills you. And I was a wizard, so I have no health.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
It hit me and I just died.
That's like some turning the corner and getting stabbed in the back Dark Souls type nonsense.
Yeah, and
like,
that's the type of game it is. It's literally just death is around the corner. One of the rules for that game is be prepared to have 5 characters because at the end of the session, only one of them is going to be alive, and that's your new character when we start the campaign.
Huh.
It's called the Gauntlet.
Brutal.
Yeah.
See, that's what you do is you DM a few rounds of Daggerheart, and then you're like, for every 2 rounds of Daggerheart we play, you got to play 1 game of Shadow Dark with me so I can kill the out of your characters.
But that would be so much harder to implement in this game because there's so many it's so stacked towards the players, right?
Even the health system, you're like, I do 33 damage. I'm like, what? How is not everybody dead from that? And apparently the health system is a little bit different and it doesn't matter how much damage you do at some point.
Yep. It is impossible to get one shot. Nothing can happen to you that would one shot you from an enemy attack, at least.
Woof. I can see that being a problem, but I mean, if it's all just...
It's not so much a problem. It's more just it is a type of game to play. It's not meant to replace other tabletops. So you can't do everything with this. In regards to there's some that are designed to do that, like GURPS is one, or Fate Core, some of these other tabletops that you can just kind of just shove into whatever hole you want. Doesn't matter. Daggerheart definitely has a personality to it.
Do you think that could lead to, I guess, people solving it? I know it's a pretend game, right? But you know how people get really good at something and then it loses all its fun.
The metagame.
Do you think the metagame for this will be too strong?
It's kind of already happened.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of already happened. It's not too crazy because at the end of the game, players are designed to be very powerful anyways.
Yeah.
The reason why, what the strategy is rather is the druid. The druid is so powerful because they have what's called beast form options where they can transform into different types of creatures, right?
Okay.
There's 20 of them. And every single type has 2 to 3 special things that they can do when they're that creature. So you just end up having this class that for almost free, because all you have to do is mark a stress in order to transform, can do pretty much anything. Like,
Oh, they're blue mages.
yeah, they're literally just blue mages.
The class that's like locked in every other multiplayer game to playing its own game.
Yeah, which feels kind of bad because, you know, if you have like a warrior and you've been spending like all these level ups to try to be like do as much damage as you can, and then you look over, your druid just turns into a tyrannosaurus and is just eating. like
Fun game, guys.
Twirl my sword a little bit. So that kind of sucks, but it isn't too bad. What's really annoying is someone mentioned this, like they had this happen in their game and they felt super bad, is you can multi-class in this game. And if you multi-class as druid, you get all of the beast form options just for multi-classing one time. And the way this person that was on a Reddit post framed it is they said, like, yeah, I had my druid, one of my druid players was like basically mentoring our guardian in the ways of druid and wanted to teach them like a little bit about the magic of being a druid. And so they ended up at like multi-classing into a druid a little bit to try to get some of that like druid flavor into their class, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, when they combine the aspects of the guardian class with the druid beast form, they ended up being a stronger druid than the original druid.
Oh, that's no fun. That sucks.
Yeah, that's where it's like, okay, that's kind of a problem. So there's already been people like talking about how you can kind of like change this a little bit to be more balanced, because, well, it's not even that the balance the problem is, it just makes other people feel bad because it's too good. It just does a little too much.
Yeah, in a game that requires everybody to kind of, like we were saying before, since everybody can talk, it requires everybody to kind of want everybody else to have an equal experience.
Yeah, everyone gets
to
a niche.
do that. Yeah, and then to take that away. I mean, I guess you could fix that just by changing the druid class, right? You know.
Yeah, there's already some like very small tweaks people have like kind of thought up that really fix a lot of those problems. So it's not a huge deal at all.
Yeah,
but it's just something that a couple people were surprised that it got through into the final game. Because it's really good.
Yeah, because you've said nothing. I've heard like minimal complaints about the game from you. I was kind of curious because you did mention, you're like, man, this one guy I watched pissed me off. What happened with that?
No, yeah, some of the complaints for the game have been very strange. I saw one where people just didn't like the setting, because the one that made me mad was because they complained when they started reading the book that there were too many races and that was too unrealistic for all these races to exist. And I got mad for a couple reasons. I was like, one, like, it's fantasy. It's like fiction. It's not real.
What do you mean it's unrealistic?
It's not that big of a deal.
That man in a wheelchair turned into a bear. What are you talking about, unrealistic? There's too many races. That's okay, though. What do you shut up?
And the second one is, if you'd kept reading, Daggerheart doesn't have a setting. That's why there's so many races in the game, is because there is no actual setting. The way the game works is they introduce what are called campaign frames, which are pretty much just like little slices of basically a setting with different mechanics for that like theme that you're making for you to use to run as a campaign. And in those campaign frames, that's where they put like which ancestries or species you can play as in that frame. Right. I think there's only one that actually limits like which ones you can do, but that's the general idea, is there is no actual setting. These are just tools for you to use, like just little like modules for you to put wherever you want when you make your game. That's why there's so many stuff.
Yeah, I just thought that was
oh, God, it made me so angry.
Well, yeah. Well, because I did watch some other guy talking, and his main fear that he mentioned about the game was that with it being so player geared, like I don't this is just how he put it. I don't really play these games that much. I'm a normie, but like he said he hates the versions of tabletops where he called them, I think, what was it, make 'em ups? Where basically everything is just, you might as well not have any paper at all, and you're kind of just saying things, and that can be That's
Oh,
how I used to play D&D with like a friend on a car ride. Was like, then
yes.
this happens, then this happens. And it's, you might as well be on the playground saying my rocket proof shield blast beats your rocket launcher. And I can see where
That's
that would be frustrating.
yeah, and that's something that is very like I really have to reiterate because or just kind of drive home that Daggerheart is a narrative based game, right? But it's
Mhm.
narrative in a way where you build the world together, not so much, you're doing whatever you want all the time. Because the way it's structured is it encourages the DM to ask players questions about the world they're seeing so that they have their own part in actually building the world around you. So an example of this is in the quick adventure we were doing. You're describing going through the forest on a trail, and there's something odd about the trees. And rather than the DM describing like what this odd feature of the trees is, it tells you to ask a player what is so strange about the trees here. And then they come up with something,
Oh,
and then that is how that is now, and you move on. And in our case, what happened is our player Zumi, she said that the trees would glow slightly through the bark, and that's what happened. And at night, it made it easier to see because of the glow from the trees.
that's kind of wicked, actually. I
Yeah,
kind of like that.
but the thing that is not really made up at all is the combat. You can't do that with the combat. The combat is very like there's a lot going on. There's like different status pools. There's things that you can make up, but they don't really change the combat too much. Like one thing you can make up is spell casting in the game. Everyone gets like a wand or something. It doesn't
Okay.
actually say what it does. It just says it does magic damage. You, as the player, get to decide what you're like actually launching as your magic. Like some
Would
people
that
say they like whipping around their head, make a destructo disc and throw it at someone, and that's what they do.
would
Go
that
ahead.
actually change the anything about the battle, or is that just flavor?
It can because like let's say there's like an oil on the ground, right? And instead of doing that with your wand, you want to like send out a gout of fire. You just light that sucker
Okay.
up, right?
Okay.
And I enjoy it because it makes magic casters actually feel like magic casters, and they're actually doing like stuff that they're supposed to. Uh,
Yeah.
but the actual damage numbers and everything don't change no matter what you're doing, right?
Gotcha.
The only thing that
Okay.
is really cool is that it encourages you to agree with players' creative ways to solve certain conditions and status effects. And also the tag teams that are in the game, the players have to describe how they're combining their abilities to do a tag team, which is a
That was
really cool
something.
mechanic.
Yeah, that I meant to ask about that. I don't know what that is at all.
So a tag team is basically they can spend like their hope, like currency or whatever, to combine two different players' roles into one. And this is really useful if you're fighting like a very strong enemy that's really hard to hurt because its difficulty class is really high or its thresholds are super high. Or let's say like one player deals physical damage, the other player does magic damage. So you're having trouble because the enemy's resistant to one of your types of damage. You can combine them with a tag team to basically get really high numbers in one go.
Oh, is that just two players, or can multiple,
So
like,
it's
can you
only
get a
up to two
Voltron going?
players. There's actually a item
Aw.
in the game called I think it's called the Belt of Unity that lets up to three players do a tag team.
Okay. I was
And
hoping you could get like a Megazord. The frog is the leg, and the cleric is the head. I don't know.
that's basically how the Colossus are in one of the campaign rings. But anyway, that's a tangent. That's something that like the players have to come up with something to actually make that work. It doesn't actually say like, X does Y to equal the tag team attack. They have to come up with it. And we had a really cool moment when we played the quick adventure that you saw, where uh, our sorcerer like imbued our guardian's axe with lightning, and she struck one of the skeletons with it, and then she used her whirlwind attack and made a storm of lightning all the way around her and just dealt massive damage to
Ooh.
everything. And that's something that they just came up with to do. And it took like a good maybe like 3 minutes for them to come up with something cool to do. and that was it. And it ended up being really, really awesome.
Yeah,
So
it sounded like everybody was having a blast when they were doing it.
yeah, so it's not so much of like a make 'em up. The rules are very like they're in there. There's only so many things you can do, and if you do this, then this happens. And there's a leeway in there for the GM to do what's called a golden opportunity, where if you notice that they're trying to game the rules, that's your cue to like tell them to basically stop and take control of something or introduce something to make them stop it.
All right.
An easy example of that is because there's no churns, you can take as many potions as you want, right?
Okay.
So if you have someone that's just drinking like 10 of them, golden opportunity for them to get smacked in the face.
Gotcha. Okay.
um,
Dang. So there's like a lot to. I can see that being kind of. I mean, I guess it's already difficult for the GM to keep everything juggle all the things happening at once, and with everybody being able to talk at once, that seems like it would be a little more difficult. But
it's actually easier, to be honest.
yeah, it sounds like it is.
Because now, like, if they do an attack, I just ask them what they do. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really, I describe like a little bit, but every time I just ask, like, what does your attack look like? And then because the way the turns are structured, I just have to do less because I'm attacking less. I don't have to worry about like, oh, I got to control the 9 goblins that are coming up next turn. Oh, fuck. I hope I don't forget one. Which ones have the bows?
Because every time something happens, you got to bust open an encyclopedia and start taking notes. You got to go through a whole class.
Yeah, this is way easier. Now, as much as I sung its praises, it does have problems, which we can kind of get into.
Yeah, sure.
Some of the classes are just have issues. Some of them are just not good.
And some are just bad.
Yeah, like the worst example by far is definitely one of the rogue subclasses, the syndicate subclass. I guess the kind of niche it's supposed to fill is it's supposed to be like that rogue that kind of has like an eye and ear everywhere. Like it just knows everyone in town. Like that's kind of the idea behind it. Yeah. So all of its like features and stuff are like like you always know someone and they always owe you a favor or something. Like it's just really vague, which isn't great. And it's not very good a lot of the times. The only thing that's really good is like I think you can haggle prices fairly well with it if I remember right, but that's about it. And it ends up being kind of weird because like one of the options you can do is you can have like an ally, not like one of your players, but like just some random guy like come out and just take a hit for you.
Oh, like Fallout, the stranger or something would just show up and start helping a little bit and then f off.
Which is like cool in like a city scene, but like if you're out in the forest or in a cave,
a man shows up in the desert. Where from? I don't know. Maybe he came out of the sand.
Yeah, he just bursts out of the sand, takes a hit, dies, and falls over.
What a cool friend you had.
It's just strange. And it's one of the few classes that actually make like a lot of work all of a sudden because you got to come up with a ton of stuff. Like you got to make all these contacts on the fly. If a player's just like, who do I know here that owes me a favor that might be able to help me? A gym's pretty cool. Like, I don't know.
Damn it. Now I have to make gym.
Pretty much. It's like a class that I hope a player doesn't pick because that sounds like more work for me, you know? But at the same time, I know no player's going to pick it because it just kind of looks like it sucks.
I mean, and even then there's like let's say you didn't want to do all that. You could be like your rogue can see, like hobos have signs, like little markings they leave everywhere. Like this house doesn't have a murderer in it. You can sleep outside of it. Like they could just see those, but for rogues. And there you go. You always have a way to you see a marking that tells you this, you know, and then you don't have to make anything up. They're just little workarounds, I guess. But yeah, I can see why that's not really worth taking when you could be a druid.
Yeah, it's one of those that like I'm sure it works mechanically fine and everything, but it just is. It feels very, very rough to actually try to play or run. The other problem too, one of the big problems with Daggerheart is literally there's not enough Daggerheart.
Yeah, well, it just came out, so
Well, it's more that just like the subclasses, there's only 2 subclasses for each class. Which doesn't sound too bad, but when you actually read the rules, these classes are like very little. They're almost nothing. They have like
Ah,
2, 3 abilities, and the subclass has like an ability that gets a little stronger every like 3 to 4 levels. So
okay.
each one having 2 can feel little limiting. Um, but it also opens the way for more like homebrew and stuff. So that's nice.
Yeah, speaking of homebrew, do you have any plans to like are you in the midst of could you just transfer like a D&D campaign over?
No, no.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the 2 systems are too dissimilar to actually just kind of do that, unfortunately.
Mm.
It just wouldn't work very well. And I guess the other thing too that this game has had issues is its gaming license. Its actual license to play has been under a lot of flack recently. Some of it
What do you mean by
undeserved,
that?
but some of so one of the problems with the gaming license that people have brought up it's actually been so like called draconian too, which I think is an exaggeration by far. Um, one of the things is that all the homebrew that you make has to be in like print or digital print format, which sounds kind of confusing. But what that boils down to is you cannot make digital tools for Daggerheart. So you cannot make your own virtual tabletop for the game or anything like that. It has to be something that can be printed out on a printer, whatever you make.
So the tabletop simulator is illegal?
Technically, yeah, they shouldn't be doing that.
Oh.
Which, fair to them that they even did it because that's kind of ridiculous. Like no other gaming, like tabletop game has ever kind of had a clause like that, really. It's kind of strange. Uh, I can see where it comes from because basically, what they're trying to do is they just want if people want a virtual tabletop of it, they want the companies that are doing it to, make a license agreement with them so they can license it out and make their money. It's their product, they can do. Um that's it sucks, but it's whatever. And at the same
Have
time too, if you just want to play with friends at home, no one is stopping you from just uploading the whole
Oh
freaking
yeah.
thing to a tabletop. It's not a
But
huge deal.
have they released anything that's like a virtual tabletop or like have they
Yes.
Oh,
It
okay.
is
Okay.
available on Roll20 is like the only place to play it right now. That's why it catches
Okay.
such huge flack because there's only one place to go, and the support for it is kind of sparse in a way where it just feels like it's missing features. You know what I mean?
Ah, yeah.
Um, and you can't really add the stuff you want in there that are in the book because the license doesn't let you.
Ew.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
Yeah. So
that's a little that you know what? I was gonna say that's like backwards and archaic. And then the word draconic came to mind.
yeah,
Where it's like, yeah, they're kind of right. Because to be so thorough and clamp down on everything and then not have an answer is stupid.
it's not great. It's not a great look. Especially because there have been issues with the Roll20 tabletop. Like, just for example, I think one of the weapons that you can get in the Motherlode campaign frame is not actually in Roll20, or at least I've heard people have had a hard time trying to actually get it. So yeah, that is a pain. One misunderstanding from it that a lot of people have kind of like boiled over. This is one I hear about a lot. Is in the license it says that Darrington Press, or the publisher, they have the right to basically if they make something that's very similar to any homebrew or adaptive content that you make for Daggerheart, you cannot sue them.
Oh,
That is in there. And
fun.
people basically took this as like, oh my god, they can just steal any homebrew I make, just post it and say
Uh,
it's theirs, and I can't do anything about it. That's insane.
At
And
first glance, that's what it sounds like.
yeah, and it's not wrong, but there's a clause because one, if they copy it like exactly, like and they don't change anything, you can still sue them.
Hmm.
So you're allowed to do that. And at the same time, like most people that are making homebrew, like you're not gonna be successful enough for it to be a problem for you, to be honest.
We're gonna make millions of dollars off your campaign if they didn't take it.
It's just not gonna happen. And this is one of those communities too, because Dungeons and Dragons had that huge problem where they tried to change their license, tried to go back and change it, and they hit such
I think I remember
backlash for
that.
doing that. Yeah, like you can't, even if they tried to enforce that, like they would run to so many problems that it just wouldn't even be financially worth it for them. Like there's just no point.
Not at this point, but maybe in the future. I mean, I can see that
Yeah.
just being there to cover their ass later on down the line.
Yeah, it is. Clearly, the intent of it is so that they don't have to worry about checking all the homebrew that exists on the internet whenever they make stuff, and it coincidentally being too similar to something someone else made. That is clearly the purpose. Having said that, the reason why this is important is just because even though Darrington Press may have good intentions, that doesn't mean anyone that would own this later down the line would still have those intentions. So it's still important to keep in mind, but I don't think it's as crazy as people make it out.
Well, I always feel like every time I hear this kind of stuff, excuse me, I'm always brought back to WoW. Was it WoW? No, Warcraft.
Yeah.
And Dota. And nobody ever wants that to happen to them again. You know, nobody wants to lose out on billions of dollars. Maybe not billions, but more money than they should, just because they didn't cover their ass with some legal stuff early on. So
yeah, and they talked about this a little bit in that fireside chat, and yeah, basically boiled down to like, yeah, there's some stuff we have to put in there because we're a company that is not like nice language, but they're looking into it. They didn't really say exactly what they're going to do though. The last clause that has caught some flack is that this is a license that they can change at any time, and you are expected to check it when you publish your work. So there's that too. Now, one thing people like have not mentioned is that this does not go backwards in time. So if you had made something under a license, published it at the time that license was, enacted, they later change it to make whatever content that you were making before consider like, illegal or just like it violates their license. They cannot go back and do that. That content you made is subject to what you had agreed to at that time. Which so many people were saying that like they would just change it later on. You'd be just screwed.
No, they can't pull a Nintendo on you.
Yeah.
And go say, hey, we actually own the patents for that now, but also 10 years ago.
Yeah. But if you want to like update your work or, append work onto it later on, then you have to look at the new license. So you do have to keep an eye on that, which, if you are publishing it, you should be doing that anyway. It's just something you should be doing. Lastly, like there's the other thing too that's really stupid, at least what I thought. So there's campaign frames in the rule book, right? There's several of them, but there's only one that actually appears in their system reference document, which is like they're free, do whatever you want with this. You could have at it kind of thing. All of the other ones are protected, which means you cannot like make any content or anything for them, right?
No.
And what's really strange, this includes actual plays. So you cannot make like a video of just you and your friends playing the game if it includes one of those campaign frames.
That's stupid.
It is stupid. It's actually like I found it so ironic that Critical Role, which got their fame playing Dungeons and Dragons, like basically says, no, you can't run our adventures. Like, get out of here. What are you doing? That's wild.
It's just weird to, release something. It's just weird to release something and you want everybody to play it, and then you have all these rules that make people not want to play it. It feels very backwards.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not like a terrible license. It just has like problems that I wish wasn't there.
No, but
Specifically that one like that I can't like upload a video of us playing like Age of
that's
Umber or
what I'm saying.
something. That's
That's
dumb.
free advertising when you're like later on down the road. If you have like you want to protect like let's say you worked on a framework or a campaign or something for a year, and it's got and then a year from now, and then you put those out and you want to protect those. I can understand that, but when you like this stuff comes with the beginner set, right? Like
It comes with the standard rulebook. Yep,
yeah, that's stupid.
it is.
Although I doubt. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of videos up of people playing it. Like nobody's going through these rules like this. I'm sure some are, but
I've only
yeah.
seen people actually play the Quick Start Adventure, but I haven't looked into too many actual plays beyond the actual one that Critical Role's
Shoot.
doing. So
Maybe they're getting takedown notices and we don't even know yet. We'll have to try and find one after.
I think I would have heard about that by now. I haven't yet. And from the sounds of it, this is because this isn't a bad license by any means. It's just kind of annoying, but you're more than able to make homebrew content for this, and that seems to be very much the intention that you're supposed to. People that I've seen online have been kind of making this out as more of a deal than it really is, and it seems also like a disconnect from the intent too, because I know that at the end of Gen Con, which is coming up at the end of next month, I believe, they're going to be releasing a homebrew like kit for free. And this homebrew kit is basically like a set of tools and also like guides from the actual like developers, the designers and everything, of them going through like saying, this is why we did this the way we did. If you want to do something similar, you should do it because XYZ, or you should do this. And like they're trying to make it as easy as possible. And that's going to be free too. They're not going to charge for this homebrew kit.
But then you can't upload anything.
Well, you can, and that's what I'm saying is like you can do it.
I get you. Okay.
Yeah, so you can still make homebrew for it. The reason people are skeptical for it is because they're afraid that Darrington is going to steal their work and publish it themselves, which they're not going to do. And like I don't think most people are going to be successful enough for that to be a problem for them anyways.
I don't know, man. I've never counted on companies to do the best thing.
And plus, if you are at that point, you've probably already made a lot of money anyways.
Well, still, it's the principle of the matter. You have it's D&D, as far as I know, 90% of it is like make them up, like doing your own thing. And then that idea, which, this obviously Daggerheart is based off D&D, is conflicting with the rules they're presenting.
It is. It's not as terrible as they say. It just does kind of suck. And I wish it wasn't there. But it's well within their rights. I think going back to Shadow Dark again, it probably has the coolest license I've ever seen.
Shadow Dark do?
It just says do what you want, I think. It's really 3 words. It's literally just do what you want.
That's like the TOS is like, why are you reading this? That's awesome. See, that's what it should be. It's not like Critical Role's not gonna, or it was Darrington. It's not like they're not gonna make their money off of it. Everything's sold out. Like this is big for them at least. Yeah, I don't know. In the world of Imagination Land, slapping rules on it seems a little, slapping legal rules on it just seems weird. It seems against the principle of the matter.
Yeah, I think the only thing for Shadow Dark is you can't try to claim that it's from their company. Like, and there's a few rules like aligned to that. But other than that, they say, here you go. You can use anything you want.
That's cool.
Oh, except the art. Can't use the art. They don't
because they paid artists for that.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But yeah, the license has its issues. I hope they update it further on, or just kind of add some more stuff, take some of the feedback, because people are seem to be legitimately worried about making homebrew content for the game, which really sucks. And there isn't too many tools right now to do it. A really cool positive though, and that's why I'm saying the intent behind this license and what they actually are trying, what's actually says feel different, is if you want to play the game, everything is free. Like, except for a bunch of the campaign frames, they still have one that's in there, but their SRD contains all of the rules and all of the cards. Like, everything that you need to actually play the game is available to be printed and do it. Like, it's all there.
Yeah, I noticed that when I didn't have to like get or buy I just think of the 5e handbook or whatever. But yeah, it was just like there when I was like, how do I play this game? Oh, here's the the PDF of everything.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, they have it all there. So if you want to like try it out, you totally can. You just look up the system reference document. All the rules are in there. There is an issue with it that they've already taken into account, where there's some missing stuff that is supposed to be in there. You could tell because some of the page numbers aren't right. But yeah, they intend to actually give away the game for free. If you want the book, you can buy it. And the book too, I was surprised because it's like $50, which is kind of a steal for what it is.
Is it? Does it have a monster manual in it?
Yeah, it's got a monster manual. It has tips for GMing.
Monster manuals.
And like it has, if you want to like start building your stuff, like how it teaches you how to make your own adversaries, environments, how to run the game as you would as a GM. It just goes over everything. And like if I wanted that for D&D, I'd need all 3 books, and that's like $150.
Oh yeah,
I have all 3 books, both versions.
You're
Plus 300.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so they give the whole thing away for absolutely free, which is kind of wild.
Dang. Yeah, I did say I almost went to the comic store when I was because I was like, I'm reading the PDF, and I mentioned it before, but I was like, I want to flip through a book. Like, I would love to have this with the pictures and all the like. I don't want to sit here and click things. I want that sound. I want the monster man. I want it all. I was kind of getting into it, but maybe for the future.
And I shouldn't say the last thing, but one of the interesting things that I kind of noticed, because I watched that fireside chat by them, and I don't think they really expected this to be as popular as it was.
It's kind of blown up. Like blown up. Like I don't hear nothing about D&D right now or anything else, just Daggerheart.
Well, what's interesting is like they sold out like the day it came out. Like it just sold out. Then they had their full bookstore release. So their first release was only at like game stores and like their online store. So you had to go to like a game store that sells tabletop games to actually get it, which is already kind of niche. And they sold all of them. Then they released it like on Amazon and like Barnes and Nobles, like bookstores, and they sold out day one again. Right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that they only played an English release. There weren't other languages available. And watching their video where they talked about it, they seemed very surprised that it sold really well. And looking into it, like they've released a lot of other games, and none of them have seemed to have done as well as this game. Like, I think their most popular one is like Candela Obscura, but even that like has gotten a lot of flack for what it is, just being subpar versions of the inspirations of it compared to this game. Like this seems to be doing really well.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, it just, like I said, even on my feeds, I don't really get D&D stuff that much, but whatever I do get has been replaced by Daggerheart. Like people are kind of, it's the talk of the tabletop town right now.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that it kind of encourages them to adjust this license to be more of like what the community is hoping that it's going to be. But we'll have to see. And also, just like other good news is Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins from Wizards of the Coast have actually joined Darrington Press. I don't know if you know who they are.
Yeah, of course. I play Magic. I know who these are.
Yeah, those are big names.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, these are like the lead designers for Dungeons and Dragons. So them joining Darrington Press is like a huge deal, especially because I believe Chris Perkins was the like the lead writer for the Strahd adventure, the Strahd module, which a lot of people really, really like. Curse of Strahd. So to have him potentially be making adventures for Daggerheart, because like I said, the issue with Daggerheart is there isn't enough of it. There aren't any actual pre-made adventures beyond the actual quick start like tutorial one. So,
they're doing it right. They're pulling in big. They're like, this is where their money's going right now, which is correct. That's the right choice.
Yeah, they have a great foundation to do a lot of good stuff. It's just kind of reflecting the gaming license to kind of draw some more good news from, or good publicity, I guess. Releasing more content for the game. They're releasing the homebrew stuff, so hopefully some really cool things can happen with it. I don't know if this will be my go-to system, but I definitely do want to play it a lot more.
Yeah, I was just Googling real quick because you got like the first edition release, right?
I got the standard edition and I had the limited edition as well.
Okay, because I was looking, the D&D first editions, they aren't worth anything.
No.
So I thought I'd be like, hold on to that. That might be worth $10K someday based on how this is going.
I mean, nah, I doubt it.
These player handbooks from like the 80s are worth like $30. Like, nothing.
Well, it depends what you look at. Do you know how much like Xanathar's Guide I've seen go for?
No, I don't know what that is.
So, the alternative to Xanathar's Guide to Everything, I've seen at like $500 before.
Yeah, no, I saw there's a couple things in here that are a couple hundred, but I was expecting thousands and that, like,
no,
like Pokemon cards or some I don't know. I just thought you might have a lot of money on your hands and you don't, but it sounds like it's a lot of fun. So
no, it's a lot of money. I have so many books. Like, even though they're standard value, it's still a lot of money.
All right, dope. I look forward to playing with you at some point. Do you have any final words about the game?
Yeah, I'd say give it a whirl. If you're worried about like some of the unique things about the game, I would say you might stumble on it a little bit when you first try it out, but like after like an hour, I think it really just kind of becomes a lot smoother. So I would say just give it a try and see how it goes.
Yeah, I was afraid of DMing, and then after kind of reading through the first part, like it looks pretty, because the initial for where it gives you your characters, it gives you the setting, it even tells you exactly what to say. And like it's really a quick start guide to get into it. It's only like 2 hours, 3 hours maybe.
Yeah, I think ours took like a couple hours.
It's free. I guess we could link it in the description. Yeah. I'll figure out a way to put a link in there to the free copy so you can play if you want. Give it a shot. Read, even just flipping through it, it'll get you kind of interested in playing. If you have any interest at all, it'll put you up there. So, all right, cool. All right. Well, yeah, maybe. Well. I guess we can't record we can't upload anything that's not the one thing, huh?
You can, as long as it's not the campaign frames. So like you can still do actual plays of like, your own stuff that you make. So that's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe someday. For now, I think we're going to call it. We're about time. Dang, that went on. I was expecting like 20 minutes. That's a full episode right there. If you're still with us, thank you so much for listening. Leave a like and a comment. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us up at giantendycrabpod@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter or X. Just look for the crab and we'll be there. Until next time with the news, we'll catch you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.